Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Yashodanandana Prajajanarandana Yashodanandana Prajajanarandana Jamuna Tiravakari Jamuna Tiravakari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Yashodanandana Prajajanarandana Yashodanandana Prajajanarandana Jamuna Tiravakari Jamuna Tiravakari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha, Madhava Radha, Madhava Radha. Radha, Madhava Radha, Madhava Radhe. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Gaura Premanande. Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Pri Vrajgacharya Stotra Satta Sri Simadhi's Divine Grace Srila Bhai Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Iskan BBT Founder Acharyas Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samavata Bhakta Vrinda Ki Hari Nam Sankirtan Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jainitai Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanvitam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutidevi Pranamami Hare Priye Vansakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayana Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Dhammasamhitam Uttama-shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyasaya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasyaya Namaha. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God as Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhara, Siva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Surabhyaya Namaha. Om Surabhyaya Namaha. Om Surabhyaya Namaha. Mukham karoti vacharam pangum langayate girim yatkripatamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Yatkripatamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam class. Continuing in Canto number 2, chapter 2, which is entitled The Lord in the Heart. And today we are doing text number 34. Bhagavan Brahma Katsneya Trir Anvikshya Manishaya Tad Adyavashat Kuta Sto Ratira Atman Yato Bhavet Bhagavan Brahma Karsneya Bhagavan Brahma Karsnena Trir Anvikshya Manishaya Tad Ajavyasyat Kutasto Ratir Atman Yato Bhavat Bhagavan Brahma Karsnena Trir Anvikshya Manishaya Tadabhyavyasat Kutasto Ratir Atman Yato Bhavet Bhagavan Brahma Katsnyena Triranvikshya Manishaya Tadabhyavyasat Kutos Tad Adyat Vasya Kutasto Ratir Atman Yato Bhavet Bhagavan Brahma Kasnena Triranvikshya Manishaya tadadyavasyat kutasto ratiratman yato bhavet bhagavan brahmakasnena trirandiksha manishaya tadadyavasyat kutasto ratiratman yato bhavet Bhagavan, the great personality Brahma. Brahma, the Vedas. Kasnena, by summarization, trihi, three times. Anvikshya, scrutinizingly examine. Manishaya, with scholarly attention. Tat, that. Adhyavasyat, ascertained it. Kutastaha, with concentration of the mind. Ratihi, attraction. Atman, Atmani, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Krishna, yataha, by which, bhavit, it so happens. It so happens. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The great personality Brahma, with great attention and concentration of the mind, studied the Vedas 3 times, and after scrutinizingly examining them, he ascertained that attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the highest perfection of life. Kindly repeat after me. The great personality, Brahma, with great attention and concentration of the mind, studied the Vedas 3 times, and after scrutinizingly examining them, he ascertained that attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the highest perfection of religion. Purport. Sri Shukadeva Goswami is referring to the highest Vedic authority, Lord Brahma, who is the qualitative incarnation of Godhead. The Vedas were taught to Brahmaji in the beginning of the material creation. Although Brahmaji is or was to hear Vedic instructions directly from the personality of Godhead, in order to satisfy the inquisitiveness of all prospective students of the Vedas. Brahmaji, just like a scholar, studied the Vedas 3 times, as generally done by all scholars. He studied with great attention, concentrating on the purpose of the Vedas, and after scrutinizingly examining the whole process, he ascertained that becoming a pure, unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the topmost perfection of all religious principles. And this is the last instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, directly presented by the personality of Godhead. The Vedic conclusion is thus accepted by all acharyas, and those who are against this conclusion are only Vedavada Ratas, as explained in the Bhagavad Gita 2:42. Translation again: the great personality Brahma, with great attention and concentration of the mind, studied the Vedas 3 times, and after scrutinizingly examining them, he ascertained that attraction for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the highest perfection of religion. So the process of studying the subject matter presented in the Shastra, in the Vedic literatures, is explained here. That although Lord Brahma, who is the topmost personality, the most intelligent personality in the universe, the first created living entity, although he heard directly from Krishna, here it is mentioned that still he studied this Vedic knowledge 3 times. And Srila Prabhupada explained that this is actually the standard Vedic way of coming to properly understand the subject matter. Srila Prabhupada uses the word scrutinizingly. The same word is used also in describing how the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan also studied the Vedic literatures. And here also it mentions how what is meant to be the quality of that study, with great attention and concentration of the mind. So actually Vedic culture aims at creating an atmosphere and a situation that is favorable for such proper concentration of the mind. Modern day society and its activities and the whole mood and mentality is very different, is not at all conducive to concentrate the mind on what is meant to be the primary goal and purpose of life. Therefore, ashram, Vedic culture is all centered around creating ashram, Actually, the whole society is meant to be divided into ashram, isn't it? Brahmacharya ashram, grihastha ashram, vanaprastha ashram, sannyas ashram. It means everyone is meant to be in that kind of atmosphere or situation that is favoring the study of Vedic literatures. That is why villages in India, we can observe now. That's changing, although we can still observe when we visit villages in India. There are different temples. They are neglected mostly, unfortunately, nowadays. But that was, and that is meant to be the system, that the focus and the center of attraction in a village is the temple. That's why Prabhupada in his Gita Nagari essay, which he wrote way back in the late 40s, early 50s, it was published in his Back to Godhead magazine, 1956, very nicely describes what is the ideal arrangement, ideal way of living. Gita Nagari, that place, that village, that community where everyone is focused on the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, where everyone is focused on worshipping. In that essay, Prabhupada speaks about there will be the worship of Parthasarathi, who is the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita. So this is actually the attraction of the Vedic culture, in that it wants to create a favorable situation. It wants to create a favorable atmosphere by which the mind is not unnecessarily distracted, but focused on the primary goal and purpose of life. And of course that is stated here as well, that such a great personality as Lord Brahma, after scrutinizingly studying the Vedic literatures, came to this conclusion, which has been also the same conclusion arrived upon by all great personalities in the history, all of our different acharyas coming down in Guru Parampara up to this day. The conclusion being, Vedayasya sarvayar aham eva vedyo vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham, as Krishna explains also in the Bhagavad Gita, that I am the goal and the purpose of the Vedic literatures. At the end of the purport, Srila Prabhupada makes a reference to one verse in the Bhagavad Gita, which is verse 242, which we'll read here. So, yes, verse 242. Prabhupada is actually, the last line reads as follows, last line of the purport: the Vedic conclusion is thus accepted by all acharyas, and those who are against this conclusion are only Vedavada ratas, as explained in the Bhagavad Gita 2:42. So that here is the verse. Yam imam pushpitam vacham pravadantya vipaschitaha Vedavada ratapartha nanyad astiti vadinaha. Actually, these are two verses combined together. The second portion being Kamatmana Swarga Para Janma Karma Phala Pradam Kriya Vishesha Bahulam Bhogaisvarya Gatim Prati. The translation as follows: Men of small intelligence, or rather, men of small knowledge. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. So, actually a large portion of the Vedic literatures does deal with this aspect. Aspect means that vast majority of living entities in the material world being conditioned, the Vedic literatures gives such conditioned souls opportunity to gradually take up the process of purification. For example, so many descriptions are there whereby if you perform this yajna, then you will be promoted to heavenly planets, or you will get a better birth. So people with poor fund of knowledge, as mentioned in the verse, they are attracted to these things. And of course this is rejected if one is fortunate to come in contact with the Srimad Bhagavatam in the very beginning, very first chapter of Bhagavatam. It is mentioned by Srila Vyasadeva that all such materially motivated purposes are totally rejected from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is being reinforced here by this particular verse, or these series of verses. So it means that actually we know that the topic of religion is a very many people actually reject religion because if we study history, it has been a source of major conflict even today, isn't it? People fight over their religious beliefs. And of course that is generally because of a lack of proper understanding of what are actually the, we say the principles of religion, which can only be properly understood if one comes to understand the principle of dharma, as Prabhupada would explain very often, that dharma is different from religion. And that's why Krishna, at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, mentions sarva dharmam parityajya. Sarva dharmam, all religious type of practices which are materially motivated. Actually, in the beginning of the movement in Indonesia, when that was read by some of the people, the many Hindus actually in Indonesia. They misunderstood this translation, they misunderstood this verse that we are rejecting religion. We're not, Krishna is not rejecting religion. Krishna is not rejecting dharma. Rather, he comes to establish paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma samstapanartaya. He comes to reestablish the real meaning of dharma, the real meaning of religion. There are so many religions. There have always been, we could say, religious sentiments. Prabhupada mentions even in the so-called uncivilized communities, there's a sense of awe and veneration. You know, people traditionally would worship fire, would worship the sun god, or worship the ocean, whatever is great. There's a natural sense of awe and reverence towards something which is very great. So the point being made here very nicely is that the Vedic literatures, Vedic knowledge, they are the original source of knowledge given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is all, of course, explained in the Bhagavatam and other Vedic literatures also, how this knowledge, that's another statement in the Vedic literatures, that dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam, the principles of dharma can only be enunciated, can only be given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. And this is a very fundamental principle actually in our disciplic succession, that we can only understand what is beyond our material senses, our material mind and intelligence. We can only understand what is beyond our ability to understand from a higher source, isn't it? So transcendental knowledge is revealed from that higher source, that higher source being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we can trace this parampara, isn't it, up to Lord Krishna, and then Lord Krishna even beyond or before Lord Krishna. Vedic literatures give us all kinds of description of pastimes and activities and incarnations who have appeared in previous yugas, in previous millenniums, in other universes as well. And therefore, to understand the subject matter, this is very much required, what is being explained here, that one has to, with great attention and with great scrutiny, analyze the content that is given in the Shastra. And therefore, our acharyas explain, there's a verse to that effect, which I don't recall right now, that one should not be lazy. One should not be lazy in the matter of understanding Siddhanta. Siddhanta means the actual conclusion. And this is, of course, a symptom of Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga, people are lazy. People are slow, less intelligent. People want to take don't want to take the time necessary to actually, people want something quick, a quick fix, we call it quick fix. And this is not the standard process. And just like people I want to become God, Krishna conscious immediately. I want to have a baby immediately. These things are not possible immediately. Everything takes its time. So there is this is the standard process is being referred to here. Actually, this is the beauty of the Vedic culture. Vedic culture has all of these hidden gems, hidden jewels. Vedic culture is just like a mine, a gold mine. My father used to work in a gold mine. People who work in gold mines, they try, because they come in, they work. In the old days, they used to go down, right? People would go down with their mining cap, hat, with a light in the front. And sometimes they would, naturally, they're working in a gold mine, they would find gold. And sometimes they would try to take out some nugget, some small piece of gold, or big piece of gold. And they would get caught, because you're not supposed, that's stealing. But the idea is that in the same way that in the gold mine, naturally there's gold, so the Vedas are like the gold mine in terms of knowledge, isn't it? It's amazing, just recently, one organization here in India is promoting and facilitating whoever, well, not whoever actually, it's especially focusing on younger, I think I mentioned to you, those between the ages of 18 and 30. Sorry, you're out, I'm out, he's out. What is your age? Boyos koto? 30. 30. Disqualified. Knowledge is meant to be, of course, knowledge can be assimilated anytime, but especially when one is younger. Komaram Acharat Pagyat, that is mentioned that from early age, Prahlad Maharaj is instructing. So this organization is promoting the study of very traditional knowledge, all kinds of different sciences that are traditionally there, and they have a long list of books and articles that are speaking about, astrology and astronomy and all of these different, very fascinating subject matters. We don't know our own history. Even people in India, unfortunately nowadays, because of Western influence that started especially during the time of the British occupation, colonization, a vast majority of so-called educated people, even in India, what to speak of outside of India, are totally ignorant of the jewels, the very profound knowledge. There's two levels of profound knowledge. There's the material knowledge. For example, we are trying within the ministry that is here in India, promoting Varnasrama ideology. ISKCON Daiva Varnasrama ministry is presenting information by having, workshops and conferences on how to deal with in a proper way with agriculture, how to again revive the soil, which nowadays has become depleted of its natural resources, basically, because of so much of exploitation through artificial means by which we have practically destroyed the soil. So all of this information is actually given in the Vedic literatures, and of course, it in many ways it is very simplified. It is very simple process how to properly maintain or create a favorable situation in the context, let's say, of agriculture, which is directly connected with cows. As a matter of fact, today I have a conference dealing with this subject matter with some of our devotees in Ukraine, actually, who want to have some discussions about land and cows. Land and cows is how society is meant to meet all of its different needs and necessities of life. It's one of the major themes. So there's profound knowledge. There's profound knowledge in our Vedic literatures on these subject matters, and these are meant to be studied by Brahmanas. Brahmanas, because they are the teachers, Brahmanas are meant to study not only spiritual subject matters. This is a misconception, a very great misconception that transcendentalists are only meant to study spiritual subject matters. Actual transcendentalists, they not only see spiritual topics as being of importance, but also they understand that this is also spiritual. The material energy, Krishna's material energy, is directly created by the Supreme Lord, and when utilized in Krishna's service, it also becomes spiritualized. So traditionally, Brahmanas would study spiritual subject matters, and they would study also material subject matters so as to teach the common people how to properly utilize and deal with the material energy, isn't it? Otherwise it becomes very impractical. Otherwise it creates a very severe imbalance within society. And so there's always been this tendency, the materialistic people are too materialistic. They don't want to hear anything about spiritual matters, which is the situation in modern day society today. And the other extreme is that transcendentalists, they don't want to hear anything about matter. But they're very interested in eating their chapatis every day. So that where your chapati comes from. So there needs to be this proper balance. And of course that's a whole subject matter, which is only properly understood when we scrutinizingly study the subject matter presented in the Vedas, where we find this very involved explanation of both what is called spiritual swadharma and material swadharma. Even Parikshit Maharaj, this is mentioned very nicely in one of the purports, I believe, in the first canto somewhere, where Parikshit Maharaj is inquiring from Shukadeva Goswami about something about the universe, something material, seemingly material. And Prabhupada in that purport mentions, just see, Parikshit Maharaj, he knows he's going to die in 7 days. Why is he asking about stars? Why is he asking about things dealing with the material energy. Why he's bothering about the cosmology of this material world, for example. And Prabhupada explains that actually a great personality like Maharaj Parikshit, he sees everything in relation to Krishna. He glorifies Krishna by properly understanding and utilizing the knowledge about this material world, because this whole material creation is working in such unimaginable ways. Even this material body that we have, all of us, we're totally ignorant of how this material body functions. And the creation of this material world is very, very wonderful, amazing, beyond our understanding, actually. Even the scientists are continuously, constantly discovering new things about material nature. Those who are doctors are always discovering some new aspect about this material body. So this point is very important here, that we should work towards creating an atmosphere and a situation, and that actually involves, a very important point being made by Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya, creating communities of devotees where the main focus and concentration will be on studying the Vedic knowledge, on applying the knowledge and the sciences that are there in the Vedic literatures. Actual science, if we really want to speak about science, if we really want to understand about science, then we must deal with the subject matters that are revealed by the greatest of all scientists, means the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, Krishna, isn't it? So all the knowledge that we need for actually progressing, both materially and spiritually, it's a false accusation. People say that India would be primitive. India would be primitive if it would not adopt the modern scientific ways or views of our modern era. But the opposite is true, actually. Very major subject topics, of course. And we'll just read the verse again, because, So this is the translation again to text 34. The great personality Brahma, with great attention and concentration of the mind, studied the Vedas 3 times. Most people don't even study it 1 time. Even our devotees don't read sufficiently the subject matters of the Vedas. And after scrutinizingly examining them, he ascertained that attraction to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the highest perfection of religion, topmost yoga system. Any quick comments? Objection? You have an objection? Comment? Yeah.
You see that Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, they wrote so much on the Rasa Tattva and pastimes, commentaries and on that.
Yes.
You see the Vedas, as mentioned, mostly dealing with the material things, how to live in a material world as a prosperous.
Yes.
There are the 2 things. Vedas telling about properly about Varnashram, how to live in a material world according to Varna and all. But
Okay.
So
the question is?
the question is, as you mentioned, that we we are totally transcendental or totally materialistic.
So why they only concentrated on that?
Yeah, Acharyas mainly.
Okay, the question is, or the observation is that we see that the Sri Rupa and Sanatan and the other Goswamis of Vrindavan mainly concentrated on the bhakti element, the spiritual dimension of the Vedas. But we were mentioning earlier that actually the vast majority, the major portion of the Vedic literatures deal with material subject matters and also induce people to take up activities that will give them some material result, a better birth in next life, or you'll get 1,000 times the effect of performing, 1,000 jagyas, or you'll be promoted to heavenly planets like that. So the Goswamis of Vrindavan were deputed, they were given that particular task or responsibility to extract actually from the Vedic literatures the essence being, of course, bhakti or devotional service. So it's not that they are minimizing or rejecting so many other parts of the Vedas. Of course, we do reject those parts of the Vedas that are not leading one to the highest and ultimate goal. So the particular mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was to highlight that highest goal, but that should not be to the extent of rejecting the many instructions that are there in the Vedic literatures that that will also facilitate reaching that highest goal. The unique feature of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the unique feature of our Goswamis of Vrindavan, in many ways a unique feature of our bhakti movement, of the Krishna consciousness movement, is to really highlight, the essence of dharma, the culmination of all religious practices, which is bhakti or devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. At the same time, as Prabhupada instructed, Prabhupada actually said, although these are the primary instructions, and Lord Chaitanya demonstrated by his personal example, and there were so many of his immediate associates, in particular Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur, who was chanting 192 rounds a day, right? 3 lakhs of names every single day. But Srila Prabhupada mentioned, but we will not imitate. We will not imitate Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by being constantly, disconnected with the outside world and immersed in transcendental feelings of separation, from Radha and Krishna. These are Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exemplified that topmost level of love of Godhead, and other of his associates, as we mentioned a few seconds ago. Prabhupada mentioned we cannot imitate. We should know that they have demonstrated, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has demonstrated that this is actually the topmost level. But we need to take the recommended regulated process that is given our acharyas, beginning with the Goswamis in Vrindavan. It's not that Srila Rupa Goswami in his Nectar Devotion is clearly explaining that there is a regulated process. There is a system by which one can gradually come to that topmost level of pure love of Krishna, and that is sadhana. And in the context of the material world in which we are living and the material energy, varnasrama must be seen, has to be seen within the context of sadhana. Sadhana means practice. Sadhana means following rules and regulations. Varnasrama means following different rules and regulations according to our particular varna, according to our particular ashrama, isn't it? So, varnasrama system is that regulated system given by Krishna in the context of our dealings with the material energy, in the context of our dealings with the modes of material nature, you see, that all of us are, even as Vaishnavas, that's why Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes the following statement, that varnasrama is that ideal system which is meant for the Vaishnavas, in their conditioned state. So Srila Rupa Goswami also speaks about the different conditioned state of Vaishnavas. There is different levels of Uttamadikari, Kanistadikari, Madhyamadikari. So the Kanistadikari, the Madhyamadikari, they are Vaishnavas in their conditioned state. Kanistadikari accepts Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he doesn't have very thorough understanding of the Vedas, and his faith also is not very strong. But still, he's a Vaishnava. He's chanting Hare Krishna. He accepts Krishna, although his faith is not very strong, isn't it? But by following the recommended process, both in terms of the specific instructions given in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion, and other similar Vaishnav literatures, whereby our Goswamis and our Acharyas have especially concentrated upon. Simultaneously, there is also, especially in the Bhagavatam, we find so many references in terms of the Varnasrama system. So when we accept those in the context of sadhana, it is part of sadhana bhakti. Another important statement made by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is that within the system of Varnasrama, when we learn to perform all of the activities within the different Varnas and Asrama for pleasing Krishna and the service of Krishna, then all those activities, according as stated by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, all those activities become bhakti. All those activities are no longer material, isn't it? That is the meaning of Daiva Varnasrama. Daiva Varnasrama means that Varnasrama, that material system, when dovetail in the service of Krishna, becomes spiritual. Prabhupada translates, actually, very nice a translation in the Bhagavatam, one of the purports. He refers to Sanatan Dharma, or Varnasrama Dharma, or divine culture. Sanatan Dharma, Varnasrama Dharma are described as being the divine culture of those who are actually advanced, those who are meant to be or are considered to be civilized. Yeah. So civilized human beings don't reject Varnasrama, accept it as part of sadhana, accept it as part of sadhana for Vaishnavas as well, isn't it? Although on the higher level one is above, one may say that bhakti, devotional service, is above Varnasrama. That's very nice. That is true. But who is there? Who is on that platform, isn't it? We should not artificially imitate, and therefore we should follow the instructions that are given by our acharyas, that are given by Shukadeva Goswami, that are given, reiterated by great personalities like Narada Muni, especially in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam. I think we have to close now. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaura Pimanandi.
Jai Bhakti Swami Maharaj ki jai.